Good day. So the question is, should type 2 diabetes simply be managed or cured? I'm David.
I'm Jerry.
It's an interesting question, Dr. Peterman. What do you think about that?
Wow. That's one of those questions that you don't ask. It's simply never discussed on television when you hear people advertising every kind of drug ever created for. How many times have you ever heard about helping to cure your diabetes? We are talking about type 2. Have you ever heard that on TV?
I've never really heard of that before.
Do you know that type 2 can be cured?
No, I didn't really know that.
Yeah, type 2 can be cured. Type 2 is generally what we did to ourselves. Type 2 is a lifestyle condition. I do not call it a disease. Doctors and various other people call it a disease. No, it's a condition. It's something that due to our lifestyle, in almost every case, I'm sure there are a couple of medical reasons why some people may have it, but in most, probably 99% of the time, it's a form of self-destruction. And so what is maintenance? What does maintenance do for you?
Well, if you're saying it's a form of self-destruction from what you're eating, I guess the maintenance would supposedly rebuild your red blood cells or your insulin
Well,
levels?
we're told, we're expected to believe that. We really are expected to believe if you maintenance your diabetes, you're going to be in great shape. Well, maintenancing is putting the grease on the slide to oblivion. It's simply greasing the skids, if you will, to destruction. Maintenance means downhill. Let's downhill your diabetes. Because as long as you have diabetes, you're in a destruction mode. Even if you're maintenancing your diabetes, it's still causing havoc. It's still stealing your life. You see, diabetes is like having little tiny shards of glass flowing in your bloodstream that slices up the little tiny capillaries in your system. And that means the microscopic capillaries in your retinas, in the rods and cones in your eyes, in the kidneys, in the lungs, in the liver. It's slicing away. With high blood sugar, it's slicing away at those little tiny capillaries, and also in the peripheral limbs, like if you're down at the bottom of your feet. Diabetics a lot of times can't feel their feet. Well, the reason for diabetic neuropathy, or the destruction of the nerves, is that the sugar flowing in the blood has compromised the ability for the cells in that area to get proper nutrition or proper oxygen to their existence, and they're dying off. And we're talking about the neurons, the various kinds of nerve cells that are there that tell you you've bumped your toe, or that there's a pain or whatever. And I love these commercials that say, get rid of your diabetic neuropathy pain. Oh yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of that, so when you actually damage your foot, you won't know it. That's really intelligent. Okay, what about reversing your diabetes? Would that be a good idea instead of managing it?
Absolutely.
All right, most people who are type 2 diabetics are overweight. It's almost a given that most type 2 diabetics have a weight problem. So it behooves one to think that maybe if I lost weight, I might be able to lower my diabetic response. And I think that's wise. Also, I have a very dear friend who is diabetic, and his favorite thing on a certain day is to stop at this particular donut shop. Well, he'll sit in the car and give himself a big shot of insulin before he goes in and buys a bag of donuts, which he promptly eats. Okay, he's got enough insulin in his system to take care of that. Well, maybe. He just shocked his system with insulin, and then he gave his entire body a bunch of zeros, fatty, round zeros that have no caloric value whatsoever except raising his blood sugar. And he thinks that's a good thing. Okay, he's approaching 300 pounds. This is intelligent? No. The guy would be 185, maybe 190 at the most. He wouldn't probably be diabetic. He wouldn't be about to lose his foot because he can't feel the foot anymore, and it's purple. Oh, Lord. If I could wring his neck and get away with it, I would. But, wake up and smell the roses.
Right.
This is stupid behavior. My son's a paramedic, and his great bane in life is to have to ride in as the knight in shining armor on a white horse to rescue somebody who has 2 or 3 limbs amputated, and they're sitting there with 6 or 8 liters of cola on the table and a dozen donuts in a box, and they're in a diabetic coma on the floor. And he's supposed to save them? I would say save them from themselves. It's a frustrating life for him in that situation. So what do you want to do? Maintenance and grease the slide on the way to oblivion and lose your sight and chop off a few years? Or do you want to start taking personal responsibility and say, what can I do? Because the companies out there who are selling you all this diatribe are not interested in curing you. You're an ATM machine. I had a good friend, 38 years he had the same doctor. Oh, he was such a good doctor. Really? And so you're type 1. He said, no, I'm type 2. And I said, so why do you still have diabetes? 38 years, you're type 2? He said, well, yeah, diabetes is incurable. I said, who told you that? My doctor. Is that ethical? Is that ethical to lie to somebody? This guy had been treating him for 38, well, he's not treating him anymore, he died because he went blind, he lost limbs, and eventually there was nothing left. I couldn't go see him anymore. It tugged at my heart too much. But I couldn't tell him your doctor used you as an ATM. I couldn't bring myself to say that because his entire world had been the victim of diabetes. And he lived that life because that's what he was told. I get a little upset and a little aggressive when I'm discussing diabetes with people who come into my clinic because I can't diagnose medically. I'm a naturopath, so I don't have any license to practice medicine, but I can practice nutrition, and I can tell you exactly what I think of that box of donuts and those colas that you just walked in with regarding your condition. So I'm not for managing your diabetes. That to me is a form of extortion. Flat out big pharma extortion. And some of these companies that supply diabetic supplies, which rips off the government, you don't have to pay for it. Government will pay for it so somebody can continue being less responsive to their own responsibility. Those companies are owned by subsidiaries of companies that are owned by the people who make high fructose corn syrup. Oh, gee, that must be an accident. Well, until next time, this is Jerry,
And David.
and need to look into that on your own. This is something that you're probably not going to be explained to by the medical establishment. And if you have questions, write in the comments section. I'd love to discuss it with you. I do get back to you if you do comment, and but be prepared that I will call it as it is. And we try to bring you these videos on subjects that you're interested in, and try to do our very best. We bring them to you every single day, and Dave and I are passionate about doing this. So until next time, we always say be well, but I do want to ask you, could you hit the like button if you like it, and even better, subscribe? That would be wonderful too. So, as we always say, be well.
Be well.